Question of the day, what is your favorite dice placement game? Now that's a broad genre now, and it's one of my favorite genres. So it could be Kingsburg, it could be Eternal Palace, it could be any of these games. What is your favorite dice placement game? Let me know in the comments below, because today we're taking a look at Waggle Dance. This is a game all about making honey and running a beehive, essentially. You are bees. And not like in The Wicker Man, that's a totally different kind of connotation to it. It's terrifying, but also Nicolas Cage at that time, before he ironically started being Nicolas Cage. Anyway, forget it. That's not why you came here. You came to learn about Waggle Dance, how you play it, all that sort of stuff. So Waggle Dance is a game in which you are bees in a hive and you're taking actions to hatch eggs, which give you more dice, taking actions to get nectar, which are going to allow you to make honey, and honey is how you win. The first person to 5 honey ends the game. In a short game. In a longer game, you can do that, and then you count up points, and essentially the person with the most points of that honey wins. Let's take a look at how it plays, what it does. We'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. All right, this is Waggle Dance set up for 2 players. You'll notice that because we have some dummy bees out here. It sounds mildly insulting. Take 2 other player colors and you'll roll 2 for each location and you'll place them out there. Now, there should be another one here. But essentially what's gonna happen is you have these action cards all the way up over there. You'll see them. And then, yep, that's some ice cream cake right there. Anyway, you have the action cards starting up there, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking your bees, which would be the dice that you start with. You're going to roll them at the beginning, and you're going to place them out there 1 dice at a time. Now, the different actions would be such as this. You're going to be taking new tiles, which you'll start with 3 pieces of honeycomb here, face down. One of the actions, you can take a new tile. If someone is in the space with a number on it already, that you cannot take that space with that number. So a 3 could not be placed here if a 3 was already here. So I could not place my 4 on top of this 4. So it blocks off. But there are a lot of spaces. The only place that doesn't apply are this space here and the one that looks like it up there, in which you're going to be placing onto your honeycomb over here, your beehive, whatever you want to call it. The first one will allow you to take more tiles for your beehive. The second one is you'll place 2 dice of the same number. Now again, you're doing it once per action. So 2 dice of the same number onto an egg out here. Now you can get eggs after this, because when you activate these, you're going to activate them in the night phase in order, A through G. So let's say you already had an egg out here and I have 2 of the same number on it. Then I would activate this egg would hatch, it would go back over here, and you would gain a new bee to use for next round. So it's a way to increase your usefulness. The next one is to just gain an egg. The nectar is a majorities area, but it's done by number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I were to place my 4 here, I'm tied, which means I would get 1 and 1. Normally, if you win a flower for having the most dice there, you would gain 2 nectar of that type. Boom, boom, boom. These nectar go onto a space. You can have different nectar on the same space, but there's a limit. If you want to move nectar between spaces, you would have to do some shenanigans like this. We have a 2 and a 2, or any 2 of the same number. And then once you have that, you can maneuver nectar back and forth. The next one here would be you can trade an egg, a queen bee, or 2 nectar of different colors or the same color, whatever, for 1 single nectar of your choice. Now this will help you because the next action here is over on your honeycomb. You have to have 4 of the same nectar and 2 of the same dice on 1 space. If that's the case, you can then flip over your honeycomb piece by trading in that nectar and those dice back to your area here to then get honey. Honey is the crux of the game. The game ends when either the queen bee deck is empty or someone in the shorter game hits 5 honey. If someone doesn't hit 5 honey and the queen bee deck's empty, the person with the most honey wins the game. And the last one is to take a queen bee card down here. Now the queen bee cards are going to be little perks that will allow you to do stuff during the night phase or day phase or both phases. But things like, take a free nectar of your choice. Manipulate how you put the dice out there. Put a dice onto a space that already contains one. Some of them will give you an egg before you can hatch it, which means you could potentially hatch an egg that you got in the same turn. So that's how you play Waggle Dance. Again, it'll end when someone hits 5 honey or all the queen bee cards are empty. First and foremost, the game looks great. This is a very pretty game. I really like the dice. I wish the dice color were slightly different because yellow and orange are very similar on the table. I would like to have seen a green or at least something else. Just very stark difference between these two, but it kind of irrelevant. But I get they were going for B colors, except for this one. I've never seen blue hornets. Anyway, big fan of how it looks. The cards look great with the art of the flowers and everything like that. Now, as far as art directions, some of the symbols are a little tricky, and by that I mean but you do get a reference card. It gives you not a reference card. In the back of the rule book, there is a reference to every one of the Queen Bee cards, which is nice. But some of them are tricky because you'll quickly glance at something and think it means a cube of nectar, but it actually means a cube of dice, because dice have rounded corners on the cube pictures, and nectar has square corners. But if you look quick, or if someone's looking across the table at what they think you have, or what you just did, or what you just played, it can be a little confusing at times. So a little different symbology would have worked better for that. The tokens themselves are a little small. These are kind of small and hard to use because you have to stack 4 nectar on one of these, plus an egg sometimes, plus 2 dice. So at some point, stuff just doesn't fit on there anymore. I mean, yeah, you could stack it up vertically, but then stuff falls over. So I wish these tiles were just a little bit bigger for the honey. As far as the actions themselves, I like the fact that you place the actions first, and there's slots where you can and can't place them based on who's there. And then you also resolve in order from A to F, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever it is. It's the last one. And each of these actions are interesting, and the fact that they put certain ones ahead of other ones means that you can't just pick up a new egg and hatch a new egg unless you have a Queen Bee card in the same round on purpose. So it makes it where it's a little bit more difficult to just power that up. But as far as the mechanics themselves of getting the pollen and bringing it to a place in your honeycomb, and then getting the bees to do the work, and they eat it, and then they do whatever bees do to magically make honey, and then they flip over that tile. It's really well thought out. It really does show what is happening. It's a really cool learning tool for pollination. I know there's a lot of people who do bee raising and stuff around here, and it's really, really a fascinating thing to me. But the game itself, it's just a little light as far as weight, depth, meat of the game. Turn 1 feels just like turn 5, essentially, is what I'm saying. There's not a lot of depth and variation in what you're doing every turn. Now, there's some strategy. Yeah, I got to set this up for next turn. But every turn kind of feels a little bit the same, is my only knock of it. So it's a beautiful game. It looks great. If you like dice placement games, this is a great intro dice placement, albeit some of the concepts are a little tricky as far as timing and when things hit. It looks great on the table. It's a very pretty game. It's a little bit simplistic in the sense that, like I said, turn 1 and turn 5 feel pretty similar. You're getting nectar, you're making honey, all that sort of stuff. So it is a neat game. I would like to see more from it. There are a couple of expansions too, but really pretty game, great looking game. Just misses the mark just a little bit on weight for me, but that's okay. I mean, some people might really enjoy that weight. So I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan, but also more importantly, check out the Dice Tower store at dicetowerstore.com.